they drifting on the beat.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Talking Soups YouTube channel, and we're doing something special here, and we're gonna have our live reaction to the first two episodes of Maul Shadow Lord. We just finally watched them, so we're gonna run down both episodes. We're gonna give you all our thoughts from both episodes and what we think about this show. So with me today,
Ande.
Darth Ande,
Jedi Master Ande.
And I'm Ed from Ways of the Sith, and as you can see, I'm representing the 332nd, the Ahsoka squad that took on Maul at the Battle of Mandalore. And yeah, so just first thoughts. What did you think about like this show? Just quickly, like your first initial reaction.
The show is beautiful. The show is action packed, like no other. Like there's all gas, no brakes, and just like I'm interested to see this take on Star Wars. It's very different, but very like familiar at the same time, and I like it.
Yeah, I felt very similar. I felt like this. Like, I've loved Clone Wars, I've loved Rebels, I love the Tales shorts that they do, and like we were talking about on the podcast a couple weeks ago, the way they've been doing the Tales series, you've been watching as the animations evolved. Like each time, from Tales of the Jedi to Tales of the Empire to Tales of the Bounty Hunters or whatever the last one was, Tales of the Underworld. I feel like Tales of the Underworld is like where you really saw this style animation like perfected. And then now we get to this Maul show and they really have it perfected. From what I was reading and listening to on some of the interviews with some of the creators, a lot of the artwork for the background of the planet and stuff like that were actually like drawn on glass. So like they were painted on glass and then they used those like, you know, digitally photographed into the computer to like get their imagery. And a lot of this stuff with the 3D modeling is like they build the models and they reuse the same models over and over again. It's kind of like a build it up process to get to this point. But I agree with you, like this is the best looking show we've gotten, and I dare say it, I would be fine if Star Wars never goes live action again.
No, it's funny you say that because as I'm watching it, I'm like, damn, is this actually animation or is this live action? Because there's some points where I'm looking and I'm like, this looks really like real. Like this looks damn near almost live action. When you look at people's facial expressions and just the textures of like buildings and things of that nature, the floor, like you'd be like, wow.
The food, we'll talk about it as we talk through the episodes. But there's, you know, the one scene where they're having the dinner and the food on the plate like looks like it's real and like it's popping out at you. So I thought like that shows just the level of detail that they did for this show. I really just absolutely loved it. But yeah, like I said, like I feel like this gives them different avenues to do other stories that maybe like we were talking about previously with the original trilogy, like do an original trilogy animation show. You know, there's so many possibilities with this that I feel like this is where they should be leaning towards as Lucasfilm. Like, I'm okay if after Ahsoka we don't have any more live action TV shows. Just keep them in the animation like this and this style. Obviously tweak it to fit, you know, the whatever project you're gonna do. But I love this. I absolutely love this.
Given that you say that, and now that we, you know, Andor is dead, I would definitely say, you know what, you're right.
Do whatever movies you want to do. Keep you know, the Skywalker saga or the trilogy, however you want to keep doing your main Star Wars movies, whatever. But as far as like this, like just do this and keep it this way and have these people that are working on these shows that continue to, you know, do these amazing things, continue to be like the backbone of Star Wars, because they are like this. I can't stress enough, like if you've worked on this show, if you're somebody who's a voice actor on this show, like kudos and hats off to you, because it really is, in my opinion, you know, I'm just gonna say this off the bat, I really do think it's the best Star Wars show that we've gotten. And that includes all the live action things. I love the early Mandalorian. I love Ahsoka season 1. But this Maul show, just from these first 2 episodes, like this really sets a whole new precedent and tone. And I do feel like you said, like with Andor, I almost feel like they took what people liked about Andor and put it in animation. Like we're getting a very, this show walks a very fine line of it's made for everybody, but it's also more geared towards the adults and the people that started Clone Wars when they were younger and now are adults, you know, watching this show and then showing it to their children. I think that's like the best of both worlds. But as we'll talk about throughout the episodes, like there are a lot of things that you know are very much geared towards the adult audience.
The adults, yeah.
Let's just start off with the timeline and giving people an idea of like where we are at. So this is 1 year after the end of the Clone Wars. So if you remember the season finale of the last Clone Wars episode, Maul and Ahsoka are on the ship. Maul takes the ship that Ahsoka's trying to get to and takes off, and he's out of there. We don't see Maul again until this point. So this is after Order 66 has already happened. It's been almost a whole year of the Empire like reigning the galaxy.
So everything's still fresh.
Yeah, Maul's hold on Mandalore is gone at this point. He's got the couple Mandalorians that he has with him now in this posse with Rook Cass, who we'll talk about. And at this point, the whole crime syndicate that he established leading into the Siege of Mandalore kind of dissolved and fell apart. And Maul is looking for revenge on the people that screwed him over, basically, or double-crossed him. And this whole empire that he built with him and Savage, when they put it all together in Clone Wars, we actually watched them, you know, form this syndicate, which was one of the coolest things. And so you can feel the motivation for Maul of like these people that betrayed him and, you know, screwed him out of this dynasty that he built for himself, this little nest egg for when everything went to shit.
Right, and the crew he got too is pretty badass.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about everybody in the crew. This show starts off on the planet Janix. We're introduced to it in the Maul comic book series, which you and me have been reading.
Okay, I have been, but I don't know why I didn't understand what the name of the planet was. But
they never say it. They don't specifically say it. It's one of the things in Star Wars, like Andor and Rogue One were like one of the very few Star Wars things that actually put the planet names at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah,
nobody else seems to do that with any of the other shows, which I wish they would do. But this pretty much this whole show seems to be like, at least season 1 is pretty much all going to be contained to this Janix planet. Everything's pretty much going to happen here, unless maybe as the story progresses, we leave and go someplace else. We do know that when things ended, Maul had created his syndicate and had them on Dathomir. So Dathomir is the home of the Night Sisters. And we see that in Rebels later on, like Maul's hideout that he basically has and all the artifacts that he accumulates over time. Lawson, even in the episode, makes reference to the fact that, you know, their last syndicate location was on Dathomir. So the Night Sisters at this point, like we talked about on the podcast, are pretty much wiped out. There's only about 3 that we know of that survived: Merrin, Ventress, and Morgan Elsbeth. I don't know if any of them are going to factor into this show, but I wouldn't be mad at it. There's also, my guess is we're going to see some sort of influence from Mother Talzin at some point as well. She is dead, but as we saw in Tales of the Underworld with Ventress, she's the one who actually like brought Ventress back to life through the water. So I'm sure whenever we get back to Dathomir, Mother Talzin will come back into play at some point. Because Maul is not a Sith at this point. He's not a Sith. He dropped the Darth from his name, and he's just Maul at this point. He's a dark side user, but he's not a Sith. So I guess you would consider him a Night Brother at this point. Like he's more in line with those values.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because with his crew out with him, the 2 other Night Brothers, is a good relationship.
Interested to see, we're going to talk about his crew as we go through it, but I'm interested to see because we don't know his relationship to these other 2. We know from Clone Wars that Maul had 2 other brothers, Savage, and I forget what his other brother's name was, but Savage ultimately kills the older brother as like his final test once he gets transformed into a dark side user pretty much, and like in bed with the Night Sister magic. So that's his final test of like loyalty, is he ends up killing like the younger brother. And so I don't know, like there's always a possibility these guys are Maul's other brothers too, for all we know. But the Zabrak are a weird species. There's like regular Zabrak that aren't tatted up. They don't have the markings. And then there's the Zabrak that are on Dathomir, and they're the Night Brothers. That's what they're considered. They're the ones that get the markings. They're the ones that get the tattoos. And basically, they're raised as a subservient species to the females. So the Night Sisters it's almost like an Amazon culture on Dathomir, where the Night Sisters are the ones who are in charge. They kind of, they're the ones with the power, and the men basically build the things, do the things, and are used for other things. So far this whole show has taken place on this planet Janix. That's what we're introduced to. You and me talked about it on the podcast, and I definitely get those Gotham City vibes, dude. What about you?
Oh my God, I've been waiting for you to get to that point, because that's exactly what I wanted to say. And it's ironic because you were just watching The Dark Knight, and then we come right into this. So I'm sure your brain is just like in Gotham City overload with just so much of the inspiration, and just like the little tidbits, it's the chaos between Maul and the city. Like it's all alive, and it's so dope to see.
And it seems like it's almost like a lower level of Coruscant. So back in the day, there were games that was rumored. It was called 1313, Star Wars 1313, and it was supposed to explore like the lower levels of Coruscant, which is like lower level 1313. That's what it was named after. And it was supposed to like be with Boba Fett and show you Jabba the Hutt and show you like the crime syndicates and stuff like that, like all in the underworld of Star Wars. And I almost feel like that idea and that method was taken for this show, because it's a very much mix of Batman, a mix of The Godfather, a mix of Sopranos, and then has like, that's basically what we're seeing. Like there's a scene in this show that's like a direct nod to The Godfather, with Maul cutting off the robot's head and putting it in the tray. I love that, and I think that's such a cool angle to take, because this is something a lot of people have been trying to develop. You and me had talked about the Guillermo del Toro talking about doing the Jabba the Hutt bounty hunter thing too as well. And this is something that he wanted to do. George had an original idea that for a TV show years ago that he was trying to pitch that was something similar to this too. So it's almost like Filoni took all of these ideas plus George's idea for the sequel trilogy with Talon and Maul and just kind of mashed it all together into this timeline. So I want to say in total we have 15 years that we can play with in this timeline. So I know we had said the Maul show was planned for 3 seasons, but if this is getting the ratings that it get, and last time I checked, it was still at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, I think you could do this show for as long as you possibly want to. Unless, like, every season is going to take a little bit of a time jump. We have a lot of time we could play with here. And I don't know how much of Maul's story they really want to flush out, but they have the opportunity to.
Yeah, exactly, because there's so much. They can take as much time or little as they want with this. So it's great. And I'm in for it because, like, the city is just everything is just so good. So yeah, I'm in for it.
So the show starts off and we see Rook cast. For those of you guys that don't know who Rook is, there's a big fan theory online that she is ultimately the armorer that we see in Mandalorian because of the horns on her helmet and the chest plate being very similar.
Yeah.
A lot of us Star Wars fans were trying to piece that together for a while, but then when it was revealed that Vanessa Marshall was doing the voice for her, it kind of didn't make sense anymore because Emily Swallow is the person who plays the armor on Mandalorian. So, yeah, it would have been a great reveal. Like a lot of us,
that would have been fire, man.
A lot of us during the Mandalorian season 3, like that's what we kept thinking, that ultimately she was going to be revealed to be Rook Cass, and it was never the case. They never went that way. So, like, if you go back and watch it, there's a lot of subtle hints that almost make her feel like treacherous or villainous, or like she's going to do something to Bo-Katan. And so that's kind of where it came from.
I remember
plus,
that. Uh-huh.
Plus, the Mauldalorians all have the horns on the top of their helmets, and she does in the show. So,
Mm.
and if you look at Rook's chest plate armor, it's the same exact like design down the middle that the armor has. So there's always still a possibility that Vanessa Marshall is just voicing the character because Emily Swallow was busy doing something else. But I feel like if they were going to make that connection, they would have had Emily Swallow just voice the character.
Yeah, it would have been done. There would have been no games or any like speculations about it.
Yeah. So you're introduced to Rook in this open. We see her and a couple of the Mandalorians basically doing a bank heist, which is cool because if you remember Andor, we got to see something similar in Andor from a different perspective. So I love that like we're already getting into like the crime and like the the breakouts. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like right off the bat.
Yes.
So the cops show up, of course, because this robbery is going on, and Duel of the Fates hits, and the ship door opens,
Mm, the
and
most hypest fucking song of all time. No matter where you use it, the shit just hits every single time.
it does, it definitely does. And
That's his song too.
Maul
I don't
steps off the
care.
ship. Yeah, I saw some people like talking about that online. Where like,
Mhm.
oh, that's not really Maul's song, and I was like, are you fucking
Mhm.
kidding me? I was like,
Mhm.
Duel of the Fates is all about Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and Maul in
And
that moment. Like that's what that song
yes,
is. That's the
that's
whole
where it first
soundtrack.
came from before
Yeah.
the Anakin and Obi thing.
And it literally drops when he walks through the door in Phantom Menace. Like when he walks through the door, that's when it drops, and then he hits the double
Yes.
blade, and everybody lost their fucking minds when we were kids. So like
Yeah.
now to get that same moment of him stepping off the ship, igniting the double bladed lightsaber, and just going to town on all 15 people that are standing there, all the droids and all the cops, like amazing, amazing. Like one of the best cold opens I've ever. And then like the credit, boom, Shadow Lord. I was just like, fuck yeah, you guys got me already. And that was
Yeah,
something that they leaked online previously. So like,
I yeah, I remember. But the thing too, also like I'm gonna keep saying this probably out this whole episode too, is that like the I guess it's the art style of just how this show is, where it has like that like almost like a brush stroke type of theme to it, and but it's like and you see like the edginess of the blade where it's almost
it's almost
damn near
crackling.
almost like what's his name,
Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren, yes,
Yeah.
like Kylo Ren's, and you know we've seen Maul in live action and before with his lightsaber, and it never was like that. So just to see him in this time period now just makes you feel like this is the time period where Maul was really like on some boss shit, basically. So to see his lightsaber like that, see him popping up on his own ship with his own crew and stuff, it's just sick, man. Like
I
it's a
would
good time to
love
be a
to
Star Wars fan.
know where he got the saber back from because this is the exact
Right.
saber that he fought Ahsoka with at the end of Clone Wars. When that
Mm.
ends and he gets captured by Ahsoka, his saber goes off like the ledge and is in Mandalore. So I'm guessing at some point he went back to Mandalore within the past year. Like maybe when he left the ship, he
Yeah.
probably went back, grabbed his stuff because he's also in possession of the dark saber in Rebels. So like we know he got the dark saber back and he got his regular lightsaber back. In old
Mm.
canon before they brought Ventress back, half of Maul's current saber was supposed to be Ventress's hilt that he took and like reforged with the original hilt from Phantom Menace. Because in Phantom Menace, you know, when he gets cut in half, his saber gets cut in half. He's only got the half of it that's left.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
the original like canon for that was that he took Ventress's other half of her saber and then reforged the blade to make, you know, the current one that he has now. It's changed where Ventress kind of has a different, she kind of kept her curved blades and just they went yellow instead of like her having that hilt. But the hilt with
Mm.
all like the pores on it and the holes, that's the one that was supposed to be like Asajj's hilt originally. And I always like, before they changed the canon, I always wanted to see that story of like, what was his, he didn't really have a relationship with Ventress. They never really crossed paths. It was
Hmm.
more so Savage and Ventress that did. So I would love to see their relationship. Um, so yeah, Maul does have his regular saber back, which is really awesome. Like you were saying, that crackle effect could be on purpose, or it could be from him
Hmm.
fixing it or reforging the saber to some point. Um, we're introduced to Brander Lawson and Two Boots, who is the police detective, and he's your typical police detective, little on
One of
edge,
my
doesn't
favorite
play by the
parts of
rules.
yeah, yeah, and one of my favorite characters of the show as well, because it does add more to that Gotham look. But I don't know, like you just said, like he's off the edge. He doesn't really play by the books and stuff like that. And like we'll get into this more, but like his also the relationship with his son has me intrigued too to learn more about.
Yeah,
And he is the reason why this show gives it more of that like uh not Gotham, yes, but Andor feel to
yeah.
it as well, because
Regular
it
people.
breaks
You're
away
watching.
from just the lightsabers and
Yeah.
things of that nature.
And that's the beautiful thing about this show is like Maul is your central character. You have your other two Jedi that are involved in the story as well, and eventually we'll see the Inquisitors like we saw. But it's really focused around like the rest of the ensemble of the cast, and you get to meet every one of the cast like in this first episode, which is fantastic. I
Mm-hmm.
love Two Boots. If you've been reading the comic, you get to really see like him and Lawson's relationship kind of flushed out. The boots were actually a gift from Lawson to Two Boots, and then that's kind of how he gets his nickname. So he is a droid that wears boots on his feet.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a lot of human characteristics because him and Lawson have been together for so long. So like there's moments, there's the thing
Yeah.
about the boots. There's moments about him
Mm-hmm.
drinking the calf and telling Lawson, I don't drink it. I just do it because you do it. And then we share this moment together. So like really, really human bonding. And the
Mm-hmm.
constant thing with him is like his protocols say if something elevates to a certain level, you have to contact the Empire. And Lawson's the one that keeps telling him like, no, we're not doing that yet. And
Doing that,
he's
yeah.
questioning it to some extent, but because of his bond with Lawson, like he trusts him. And I feel like we're going to see that relationship kind of flushed out a little bit more between those two.
Yeah, and I love that because not all the time do you see that connection where it's always about the empire, the empire, empire. But to see like a ground level like police force or just yeah, police force, it's cool to see because we never really get to know like the normalcy of Star Wars universe.
Mm.
So like to see a actual cop force and how they're like, no, like we don't need to take it there. It's like almost as if like you're calling in the FBI to deal with a situation that
Pretty much.
that you don't
Yeah.
want to be bigger than it needs to be.
But see what they know is so Janix is in the outer rim. So basically when the Empire took control, they started at the core, which is Coruscant, and then they worked their way out, basically taking planet by planet and seizing control and putting troops there and so forth. So Janix is on the outskirts, just like Tatooine was, where they don't want the Empire here. They're fine
Mhm.
governing it by themselves because they know once the Empire comes, they're never leaving again. Like they're going to build bases. They're going to bring all kinds of stormtroopers and ISB and everything. And before you know it, this whole planet's, fucked. So
Yeah.
as we saw that there's already like a criminal underworld here. There's a lot of people in hiding here. That's why Devin and her master are here because it's a place for them that they can kind of get away from the Empire. So the Empire coming there is not just bad for the Jedi that are in hiding, it's bad for everyone on that planet. And that's something Lawson and his boss, even though his boss is like riding his ass about the case and the details of everything, his boss doesn't want to see the Empire show up either. And she's kind of
yes, right.
mindful of that. So really, really cool. I agree with you. The fact that we're getting to see like this side of Star Wars, and again, I'm interested to see how this is all gonna fold in because we see later on that Maul lets Lawson live, like has a killing stroke on him, but doesn't. And I'm wondering if Maul's gonna use him as a part of the puzzle piece that he's gonna play chess with. You know what I mean? Like he's just another
Yeah.
piece on the board for him to manipulate and like move around. And because of Lawson kind of being on the edge, and as we see, he goes to an informant to basically find out about Crimson Dawn and find out about the Shadow Collective. He's obviously got a relationship with like this informant. She hits on him. She's like, "I'm free for dinner tonight." So it's obviously that like something's, you know what I mean? Like
Like he
Lawson
got
feels,
something going on, yeah.
yeah, Lawson feels like a guy that like Maul could almost find a use for. You know what I mean? Or
Hmm.
when Crimson Dawn eventually, Maul ends up taking over Crimson Dawn, having a cop or a police chief of a planet in your back pocket is a good way to move stuff around and do things. So there's always a possibility that Maul could, definitely manipulate him to be part of his side or part of the plan.
Yeah. And they also, I mean, this is also for people who or haven't read the comic, but just it's a good thing to read it because it does help a lot to understand the show because they do give tidbits and things of that nature of like you're saying like moles that are in the police force that are working for the underground and things of that nature. So that is a possibility already because it's already set up in the comic.
Yeah, that's why you see in the show that like a majority of the police force are droids because they don't trust a lot of the people anymore because a lot of the cops are on the take. It's Gotham City. It's really is like Jim Gordon. Lawson is our Jim Gordon, and Two Boots is our Harvey Bullock, and the rest of the police force can't really be trusted with the information. So immediately when Lawson and Two Boots run the scan of the droid that was taken, they get this hologram of Maul. And he looks at him. I love the dynamic of the fact that like Lawson's standing like face to face with him and like looking him up and down and examining him. And when they try to find out who he is, it's a sealed ISB file. And it says that if this subject is spotted, to immediately contact the Empire. So there's your first like automatic red flag of like, oh no, Maul is public enemy number one. And if you find him, the ISB want him immediately. No details given of who he is, what he is, why they want him. He's the Emperor. Basically, 1-800 dial the Emperor.
Yeah, that's a good
one. So I love that little I love that like little tidbit of it. It made it feel so much more special and so much more like the threat level just rose in that moment because immediately you're like, oh fuck, don't call the Empire because if you call the Empire, like we just said, your whole planet's fucked at that point.
Yeah.
We saw in Andor what happens to a planet when the Empire shows up. You know what I mean?
Yes, we did.
So we're introduced to Devin Azara and her master. His name is the craziest name I've ever heard, and I'm gonna mispronounce this all the time. It's Iko Diodaki is his name.
You know what's crazy? I wrote notes for this, right? And I've heard people say it. I think I heard it 3 different times, and I kept erasing it and writing it again. I had Ioaki,
it's never said in the show.
Jockey, and then I had Odani or something like that. But I landed on Jockey. So I was like, okay, whatever. That's what it is.
Yes. So Devin Azara is played by Gideon Adelon. Her sister is Odessa, that was just in Marty Supreme. She's the girl from Marty Supreme that a lot of people have fan cast for Wonder Woman. So Gideon Alden is her little sister, and she's the one who's voicing Devin Azara. Iko Diodaki is played by the Allstate commercial guy.
I was just going to say that. I was like, is that him? Because I'm like, yo, this voice sounds too familiar.
Yeah,
I'm just waiting for him to say like...
Yeah, the president.
I'm just waiting for him to say the slang.
The Allstate commercial. So, yeah, I thought that was a really, like... Once I heard the voice, I was like, oh, okay, so I see what you're trying to do with this character. Like, he's embodied with wisdom. When you meet them, basically, I love this, too. I thought this was such a nice touch that they added to this because... So we've seen in Kenobi, like, after Order 66, we've seen, Tales of the Empire and those stories with Barriss Offee about after Order 66. But to see, like... All right, you're a year removed from, a little over a year removed from Order 66 taking place. Here's these 2 Jedi that are on this planet in hiding. They can't draw any attention to themselves because they know, like, if they do or something happens where they reveal themselves, now you got to pack up and you got to go someplace else again. They're starving. They don't have money. They don't have food. And Devin is really, this is where you see the first hints of Devin and I think what we're going to see as her character develops is Devin wants to steal the food. Her master basically says, no, we got to trust the kindness of people. And immediately after he says that and tries to beg somebody for some credits to go get the food, it's immediately shown that, no, you can't trust the kindness of people because the guy just basically tells him, Ichuta, which means fuck you in Star Wars.
Yo, I heard that. And I was like, he shoot that. I was like, did he just say "fuck you" and stuff words?
Yeah.
And they
So,
say more cuss words in the rest in the show too.
well, Ichuta goes all the way back to the original Star Wars. The Jawas say it, and also C-3PO gets told it when they're in the cantina on Tatooine. And so, yeah, it's basically "fuck you" in Star Wars. It's their way of saying it. So
Yeah.
immediately, like, her master's disproven, and that's, I think, the first crack in Devon is you know she has her beliefs, and she, as she reiterates to Maul later on, she does believe those teachings. She is, still a good person and still a Jedi and still trying to follow the way. But she knows at this point, like, they're on the run and she's got to bend some rules here. Like, if they're hungry and they need food, there's plenty of food there that they can take to, Melu runs or whatever it was and be fine. And so she tries to and immediately gets caught. And her
Mm.
master, basically rather than having her run or cause a scene or something, just basically says, no, go with them. Everything will be fine. Again, trust these people. They're just gonna let you go. It'll be a slap on the wrist and have faith. So he kind of sits down there and just waits. Meanwhile, she gets taken into the police station, goes through processing, gets put in a cell. She refuses to give a name because, again, if she gives her name, the Empire would know who she is immediately, and they would be ascending on the planet. So in a way, she kind of saves things. When she talks to
Yeah.
Lawson at his desk, there's a ball that's on his desk, and it's basically the Star Wars equivalent to lacrosse. It's called Budokan, and that's the name for Star Wars lacrosse, essentially. We also see his son Riley is in the picture on the desk,
Yeah.
also with the mother, who we'll talk about in a little bit. But according to StarWars.com, Riley is like a lacrosse player. That's like his big thing, and we see him later on holding the stick that when we were introduced to him officially. And so
Hmm.
that ball on the desk is, I'm guessing, like a big moment of Riley's at one point that he
Hmm.
you know big game, or perfect game, and the father keeps that on his desk as like a trophy. So when Devin's playing with it, he's immediately like, no, put that back, like, stop fucking with
Right.
that.
Right. Right. Right.
Now, what did you think about, like, all of that unfolding, and the
S-
her stealing the fruit, and her master's, like, influence?
So I didn't, to be honest, this is the first time I'm thinking about how she can be able to switch so quick, or into what Dawes Maul has planned for her, because from the beginning I was just like, wow, like, especially when we get to like the ending of the episode 2, like I was like, wow, like she's really that easy to catch. But knowing now that she has those thoughts in her head and she's quick to like say like, no, like we need this now, that is telling.
It's the first
As
crack
far,
it's the first
yeah.
crack of the or the first domino
Mhm.
falling, I guess you could say.
And as far as Riley and his dad, that's one of the relationships that I've been really interested in the most, and will kind of change the whole tone of the show for me from the
Hmm.
moment like it came on, because I was just like, okay, this is more of like, this is more grounded and more realistic, and it's taking away from like the whole Star Wars things that we know and love, but
Yeah.
adding a more real life relationships, because you can tell that Lawson really, like, he loves him, but he's just so busy with work that he never
He's
has
not
any time
around.
to hang out with him, and it shows, and it's something that a lot of people can relate to, especially
Yeah.
this day and age. So
Yeah. And the
I
divorced
really like
parents,
that
the parents
dynamic.
splitting.
Yeah, that I really like that dynamic. I want to know more about the mom, because she seems like an important person to this whole scenario, and the fact that, yeah, I think we might get to it, unless you, well, we did get to this already, but like the girl that he goes to get the tip on, that is from like the nightclub, when he starts asking her about Maul and stuff, she seems like she knows the mom too. So like, I
Yeah.
wonder if she was
She knows the
like,
kids. She knows
maybe,
everything.
yeah, maybe she
She's
was
his
down
jump
with
off.
them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, so it's all very interesting, and yeah, I didn't think about that point about Devin, how she snapped like that. So yeah, good catch.
It's just the first, the first sign of that she's
Mm-hmm.
tired of she's questioning the ways of her
Mm-hmm.
master. Basically, it's a first defying moment of her master. Essentially, like he tells her not to do it, and she does it anyway, and that's
And
not
he's a beast
necessarily the
too.
Jedi way. Well, you could tell that like
Mm-hmm.
this is the first time we're ever seeing this character, but from his age and from the way he handles himself and everything like that, you would think that like he had been a Jedi for quite some time and been
Yeah.
pretty high up in the
Mm-hmm.
order. I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Speaking about Lawson's wife, though, do you think it's just a scenario where they're divorced and like she lives someplace else or on a different planet, or do you think she's in prison or maybe works for the ISB or maybe works for the Empire?
Um, to me, it was giving as if like either she was dead or like they aren't together. They're divorced and somewhere else. Because
Yeah,
I
because he
mean,
says
why do you
he
still
says
have?
visit her.
You're right, but like, why do you
Because
still
I
have the
talked to
pictures up
mom.
like that? Like,
Well,
yeah.
he said
Mm-hmm.
the kid says I talked to mom. She wants me to come visit her, and the way I took that was, is she in prison? And like, is she locked up? Because that would make a whole nother fold in
Mm-hmm.
Lawson's character of like, did he lock
Mm-hmm.
up his own wife at one point? And we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna find out that story.
And for that girl that gave him the tip to already know her would make sense too because
It's always a
she's
possibility.
in the underground and with all the nasty stuff that's going on in that city. So like, yeah, that would make a lot of sense. But that would be also show who lost his character really is.
Well,
It's like,
that's why I'm saying
yeah.
I feel like Lawson's gonna play a tremendous role in this show, and
Mm-hmm.
whether it's to be the guy in the middle, because he is one of our viewpoint characters. Like him
Mm-hmm.
and Devin are essentially the two viewpoints of this show that we're going to be. They're the the everyday person that like we're the eyes we're looking at encountering the show, and
Right.
so I feel like something's going to unfold where we're going to learn more about Lawson, whether he was a bounty hunter in the past, whether he turned his own wife in. Something
Mm-hmm.
happened to why he's divorced. Obviously he's sleeping with his informant and his
Mm-hmm.
son. He loves his son. He's got the Budokan ball on the desk. He wants to be there for his son, but he's not. And yeah, like you said, a lot of people have encountered that situation with parents, one way or another, where
Mm-hmm.
your parent wasn't around because they were busy working or doing whatever. So again,
Mm-hmm.
I love that too, and the fact that they're incorporating stuff like that into this show. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we're introduced to Maul's crew. Both of the Knight brothers, they're named Icarus, and Icarus is played by Steve Bloom. He has been every character you can think of. He's been Wolverine. He's one of the best voice actors in existence, pretty much. Any
Yeah.
property, anything you've watched or listened to, Steve Bloom has been a part of. He also voices Garazeb Aurelius, Zeb from Star Wars Rebels, who we're also going to see in The Mandalorian. So I thought that was great that we got Steve Bloom back, and the other character is named Scorn. Scorn is the one that's got the mask like pulled up over the bottom half of his face.
Yeah. Yeah, and those two dudes are beasts, man. Like, I think they really add to Maul's chaos based off of like, their Night Brother
Hmm.
ish ways.
I like that too.
So
Yeah.
so like seeing him come in with that Gatling gun just blazing and laughing and just like down to do whatever for the cause is fire. And those guys really add a lot to Maul's crew.
Yeah, no, and they're the muscle of the crew. We were saying how like this is essentially Sopranos. We're from Jersey, so we're gonna say Sopranos over The
Yeah.
Godfather. Um,
Facts.
but but essentially, like they're the muscle of the crew. Like they're his ride or die. Guys that are gonna go out and do whatever Maul needs them to do. And again, we don't know their relationship, so I would love to kind of find out little more tidbits of like, did Maul go back to Dathomir and get these guys? Are they related to him? Like, are they another set of brothers that are like his younger brothers?
Hmm.
But you also see that Maul has a really really small group of Mandalorians. It's pretty much just Rook, about maybe 10 Mandos, and they're all wearing like the same gray and like dark armor. They're not in the Mandalorian armor like they were at the end of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Rook is the only one who still has like her Mandalorian color scheme on her armor. Everybody else just kind of went with like a gray, black. It's very dark, and I guess that's more like a stealth thing. You know what I mean? They just kind of have like a stealth look to them. A couple of them still have the horns fashioned, but again, everything's kind of painted a little bit differently. We're also introduced to probably my favorite character of the entire show, Spybot, played by David S. Collins. He he played Proxy in The Force Unleashed. So if you remember Starkiller's droid from Force Unleashed, Sam also voiced Starkiller and was the look for Starkiller. So really cool that they were able to pair them back up. He is the head audio engineer at Star Wars currently in Lucasfilm. He pretty much works on everything. He's got a fantastic podcast where he talks all about sounds and dissects like different things. It's really great if you get a chance to listen to it. But yeah, he's voicing Spybot, and I feel like him and Chopper from Rebels have to be friends. They have had to commit war crimes together at some point in time, because I would love to see that. I would have like give
Chopper's
me a short
gangster, bro. He's too gangster.
Give me like a Disney short of Chopper and Spybot just like doing a mission together. Like I would love it. I would fucking
that
love
would be
it.
crazy.
And like
that would be nuts.
And I love, so he's running his voice through the same encoder that like Dave Filoni uses for Chopper, except it's more, like it's got an effect to it, but you can actually like make out
it's
the
got
words.
more of like that auto tune, like robot-y effect to it.
Yeah, and I see you and Bushido and like little things like that. I love that. And he's basically like a slicer droid. He can hack and hack into anything. He's got all kinds of like Swiss Army knife tools and weaponry on him. And he's actually like big, but he's also simultaneously like Maul's pet, which I thought was an interesting like bit, because Maul is
and he's the one doing the dirty work before anybody, and he's doing it like in your face, like disrespectfully, and then you just find out like, oh shit, my ship just turned off, and it's like, I see you. Like you just said, like, what? This little bot is gangster, man. Like,
yeah, when they do the break into the prison, like he's literally like talking shit to Two Boots, and Two Boots is like trying to unhack him, and then finally does eventually, but like, so cool. I love him. I'm hoping we get to see more of him. I also need Galaxy's Edge to immediately give me a 1-1 scale of Spybot. I need that for my shelf immediately. If not, I'm a 3D print one. Good. If not, I'm gonna have somebody 3D print me one. But love that. We're also introduced to, I'm looking here in my notes,
talking about Demi and
Demis and Demis and the other one. I had it here in the notes and I don't know where it went. Vario is his name. Demis and Vario.
There we go. Vario.
Yeah. So essentially they're the two crime lords on the planet. We do get introduced to Demis in the Maul comic. We also see Vario in this newest issue, in the second issue. But he's a smaller alien. His species was seen during the pod race in Phantom Menace. He's one of the species that smashes into the canyon wall in Phantom Menace. Shit. So that's where we first see his species. And you also see his family crying in the background of one of the shots, like his kids. They're all like crying. And I always thought that was like a funny moment, because like George just threw that in the background of like this Anakin scene of these kids like crying because their father just like smashed into a canyon. But he is the same species, and Demis, I'm not sure what type of species he is, but he's essentially like the big bad crime boss on the planet Janix. And Lawson's very familiar with who he is and who the other one is, and I really, really love the introduction of the two of them.
Yeah, Varys low-key reminds me of so like from Lilo and Stitch, you know, the experiment that just eats like a bunch of sandwiches. That I forget which experiment number he is, but y'all out there know who it is if you're listening to us talk about a Disney product. So yeah, him. He reminds me of him. He kind of has a Jersey thing to him too. in
Yeah,
his
it's a Joe
accent.
Pesci. It's a Joe Pesci
Yeah,
impression. That's exactly what it
yeah.
is. That's like on
Hmm.
purpose that he's doing like a Joe Pesci impression for the the voice. And I love that he got the upper hand on Demas and ended up Demas thought he had him cornered, took the shot, and here he is. Vario just popping up on him out of the black and shooting him down. So I
Right.
thought that was great. And like I said
Mm.
earlier, like seeing the food on the plate was incredible because
Mm.
the background kind of gets blurred out a little bit, and you kind of get the focus on the two of them sitting at the table, the meal in front of him, and the detail on that, and then the Godfather moment of opening the tray. There's the droid head underneath, and Demas thinks Vario did it and is setting him up, and we get the
But with the droid thing too, it's cool to see more of like the CP3O droids actually in action, because I don't remember seeing them like more prevalent other than just CP3O. So
you see them in the Mandalorian. You see them in the original trilogy a couple times. They are like the more standard droid because they're a
yeah.
protocol droid, so they do all
Hmm.
kinds of different things. So they're more like your waiter or your butler type droid for the
Hmm.
most part in the Star Wars universe. And basically what we find out from Vario is that Krem is the leader who took over the syndicate. Krem is a Pike. We were introduced to him during the Clone Wars. He's in the whole arc of Maul putting together the Shadow Collective. Basically, we also see him in the Dark Disciple book. He's in part of that story with Ventress and Quinlan Voss. So Krem is in charge of everything. He basically took Maul's portion of stuff and the people and got everybody to double cross Maul, and now he's in charge, and Maul is looking for his revenge. The whole fight with Vario and Demas didn't go exactly how he planned. Like he thought Demas was going to kill Vario, and then it worked out to his advantage that Vario was the one who lived. And
Mm.
now Maul's using him basically for information, and basically, I don't know if he's going to make it out. I would assume probably not, but
Yeah, because he can't do. He don't know what to
he
do with himself right now.
he might be like the rat that Maul keeps around just for a little while until he's indisposed or taken out in some form or fashion. We're also introduced to the fact that Maul's having these visions. This was something that started in Clone Wars leading up to the Siege of Mandalore. It's why Maul ended up having the siege and hatching this whole plan, because he was trying to get Anakin and Kenobi to show up to Mandalore, and Ahsoka was the one who showed up instead. So that's kind of what fucked up his whole plan. His plan at that point, he was having the visions. They were connected more so to Order 66 and Palpatine. And then when everything happens with Order 66, him and Ahsoka experience and feel it at the same exact time because they're on the same exact ship. So Ahsoka breaks him out. He's already knowing like what's going on in the universe. He knows Palpatine's making the play. He feels Vader kill Vader kill Anakin kill Mace Windu, and that kind of sets things all into motion for him.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
you also see later on by Star Wars Rebels that he's still having these visions and he's still plagued by these visions. So I don't know where it stems from, like if this is something just part of the dark side, or if because he's not a Sith anymore, that like he's having these visions, because the visions are usually more of a Jedi thing. They're more of
Mm.
like a Jedi gift. There's certain Jedi that just like are prone to visions, and that's kind of their ability with the Force.
I was to say like maybe I can see it being that, but Maul is a different type of Sith. So like we spoke about it last time. Like there's times where you hear him and he just sounds like, yeah, it's fucked up, but he's right. So
Yeah,
I could see him maybe having some of those Jedi forces inside of him, although he doesn't really lean all the way that way, but.
yeah.
Yeah, like I could see that happening.
And he basically tells Rook that he's here to get in his apprentice. He knows his apprentice is here, the person who he's going to mold into a weapon to take down Sidious. And when Rook hears that, Rook's like, Sidious? And he's like, yes. And she's like, all right. And so Rook is almost like his right hand in command.
Right.
She's like we were saying at the beginning of the episode. She was one of the loyal Mandalorians to him. She helped break him out of prison when Sidious took him at the end of Clone Wars. So she's been ride or die for Maul. She's also the person that's on the ship trying to get Maul to escape during the battle with Ahsoka at the Siege of Mandalore. So she's ride or die. She's his right hand. And I'm wondering if there's almost like a little bit of jealousy planted here, because I
Oh, I
couldn't
see
I
what you're
couldn't
saying.
I couldn't necessarily read it. You could read it one way or another while looking at Rook and her reaction to the situation. Either she's okay with the fact, like she's comfortable in her spot and knows like I'm not force sensitive, therefore I can't be his apprentice, or
Mm-hmm.
she feels like, oh, he's gonna bring somebody else to be his right hand when I'm already here. I'm not sure if that's gonna split them at some point, or that was said and portrayed that way as like a way to show that maybe down the line something might happen with the two of them. But
I mean,
I was
I didn't get that from her. She's just really like go with the flow with it, but she's also she does, but yeah, you know what? Never mind that. She does have a lot, she does have a lot of like somewhat of a jealousy in her, because if you will pay
it's just the
attention
way
to
she
her
says
body
it.
language, yeah,
Yeah.
if you pay attention to her body language, she gives off a sense of like, oh, like this is like really like how do you even know this is your apprentice? Like I'm right here. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure again. I'm not sure if it's us reading in too much to it, or if it's the fact of like, no, she's comfortable in her
Or
spot.
this is
She's
just her
just like,
attitude,
okay,
you know?
whatever. Yeah, yeah, and it's
Yeah.
just like her
Hmm.
demeanor, because
Hmm.
that kind of is how she is. But
Yeah.
so Maul's already aware of Devin. He I'm guessing he can feel her, and that's what I was talking about earlier with her stealing the fruit and like the first signs of the cracks in the Jedi Order for her.
Hmm.
I think Maul is already like he already is aware of her feelings of distrust and the fact that she was indoctrinated, as he says to her later on in the episode. Like he tells her, like, you've been indoctrinated from a young age. You were meant to be the protectors of the galaxy. But now what do you do when the whole galaxy is in chaos and there's nobody to protect because it's
Hmm.
lawlessness? So now he's making her, this is again what we were talking about like he's out of line, but he's right. how do
Right.
you how do you reframe the Jedi code now in this new world? This isn't the Republic. This isn't the
Hmm.
old ways. Like, you guys are on the run. You guys used to run the galaxy and be the police of the whole entire universe, and now you're running like rats and hiding because you're being hunted by these Inquisitors and Vader.
Hmm.
So to have things framed that way again, Maul is putting things in perspective for her, and just kind of continuing to chip away at the things that he already knows is inside this girl. And I think that shows so much of Maul's character, so much of the manipulation that he endured through Palpatine that now he is using on somebody else. And we see that in the episode when he puts Devin
Right.
in the cell, and Devin's like, I'm a prisoner, I'm trapped. And Maul basically tells her, is if that's the way you're thinking about this, I'm disappointed. Like, I'm
Hmm.
worried about you, because if that's how you feel, you can leave at any time you want. But if you
Hmm.
think that you're a prisoner and you're trapped, like, that was the first initial
Slick.
test for her from him, where
He slick.
he basically set it up for her. Though it was
Hmm.
all a long game, and that was
Yeah.
the beautiful thing. Like, if you're looking at it from Devin's perspective, she, thinks she's a prisoner. She thinks she's captured, and Maul basically puts her in it's the same situation of like putting somebody, like putting four walls around somebody and leaving the door
Hmm.
wide open, and just like,
Hmm.
you can walk out at any time, but as long as you stay within those four walls, you're trapped here. But you can walk out anytime you want, and that's essentially what he does. He tells her
Hmm.
that. So I love that. I love that test, and the fact that she breaks out. And he sets it up perfectly, because he's like, "You're still here," when he comes back after doing what he was doing, and she's just kind of like, she turns her back to him and like
Hmm.
postures. And I thought that was such a beautiful thing. And then her trying from the front, like Maul basically leaves. He takes everybody with him, and she tries and can't get the front, but then she feels the breeze out the back of it and rips the back of the container off. And I
Hmm.
thought that was so cool.
Hmm.
Um, There's also a really, really cool moment with her master and Maul that like we skipped over because we kind of started talking about other things. But
Right.
it's when they do the prison breakout and he steps in front and takes out the one racer. So basically, the
Hmm.
two Knight brothers like flip over. Maul lands his ship. Maul steps out, and the master, Ikadiki Daka, whatever his name, Iko Diodaki.
Jockey,
See,
yeah, yeah.
Ikadiki. I'm gonna fuck this up as many times because this is the worst name for a Jedi. Let's just call him Eco. So Eco basically like squares up with Maul, and you could tell that they both want to draw their lightsaber at that point, but both of them know like if Maul knows if he draws his lightsaber in this big of a crowd, it's
Hmm.
gonna get out that he's here, and then he's gonna have to
Yeah.
leave. And then same thing
Yep.
for Eco that if he draws his saber in this moment, like they're gonna die, there's going to be a whole bunch of chaos going on. So like they
Hmm.
square off in posture like they're both about to fight each other, and then Maul just quickly like looks to the bridge and knows that if he breaks that bridge and those people are in harm, that Eco is going to have to step in and save them. You know what I mean?
Save them, yeah. Which was a smart move to see by Maul because I mean, we never seen Maul be such like so much like a leader where he has to think about things like this and that nature. So having to be able to just like he's just way more smarter and just calculated than he ever had to be when he was
Everything's
just
thought out. Yeah.
hmm
And I'm not sure if it stems from like him having the visions and knowing kind of how things are going to go and like just being so sure. But the whole thing with the dark side of the force is if you get an apprentice, it makes the master stronger. So
mm
basically the hate from your apprentice makes you stronger because their hate fuels their anger and their rage, which brings power
yeah
to you. So I'm
mm
wondering if like again, Maul's already feeling Devin. He already knows she's here. He knows exactly
yeah
who she is before he even meets her. And then when he sees her, it's like nothing. Like he doesn't even pay her no mind. He's just like, take her too. And that's
hmm
it. It's just a very simple thing. So like
but
we're
that would
gonna
gain to his to that statement you just made. So
yeah. Yeah. So that's what I'm wondering if like because of the dark side, he's already feeling this. And the
mhm.
one thing that's gonna come into play again, because we saw it in Clone Wars, is when Maul got Savage and him and Savage really got powered up and he killed Satine, that's when the Emperor felt him and knew like he had to intervene, that Maul was getting too powerful. So I'm
Mhm.
wondering if like we're gonna see the same scenario here of like if he can break Devin and build Devin into this weapon that he wants to use against Sidious, is Sidious gonna come looking for them before they come looking for Sidious? Because you don't name drop Sidious, and if we're not gonna have he's on Maul's list of revenge, and this is the ultimate target that Maul wants revenge on. My guess is some point in this show, regardless if it's this season or later seasons, we're gonna see Maul take a crack at Palpatine and lose because,
Mhm.
as we know, what happens to him in Rebels, he ends up getting marooned on Malachor. So I have a feeling like when he goes to take the stab at Palpatine is when we get Vader, and that's how that's all gonna play out.
That dual face all plays once again.
So
That would be
I'm
crazy.
I'm really interested to see where this goes, like how this is going to continue. Obviously, Krim is the ultimate target now for Maul. We see him take out the rest of those pikes at the end and get the information that he needs of where Krim is. One of the upcoming episodes is called Pride and Revenge, I think. It's like almost Pride and Prejudice, but it's Pride and
Mhm.
Revenge or Pride and something. My guess is that's probably like Maul taking out Krim. We're eventually going to see him get to Crimson Dawn, and we don't know how, but we know from the Solo movie that Maul does eventually take control of Crimson Dawn and is the syndicate leader for Crimson Dawn again. So I'm assuming
Without
we're
filling
going to
that
work.
gap. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming this season we might work our way through it, or it just might be the targets that Maul's taking out, on this planet of Janix. I don't know where Krim is. Like, I don't know if he's on this planet or if he's on the Pike homeworld, and we're gonna go there. But
Right.
I'm interested to see how Maul's gonna like let this unfold to where like he's gonna be able to take out, you know, the Pike leader pretty much. And then once he does that, everything else falls around it. So I know we're gonna see Drayden Voss from Solo at some point, because again, once Maul takes over Crimson Dawn, Dryden Voss is right there as his like underling. So there's so many avenues and so many things that we're gonna get throughout this show that I hope we get it all. There's still those loose ends from Solo about Kira and Amelia Clark's character. We did get resolution for it in the comic books, Crimson Reign. It's a fantastic story that takes place in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and you learn that Amelia Clark's character is alive at the end of Return of the Jedi. She watches the Empire fall. She has a hand in helping Luke and all of them with information that she gives them to help bring down the Empire. And she basically is Maul's failsafe. Maul teaches her everything. Maul basically sets her up with a plan of how to take down the Empire after he's dead. So when we see what happens to him in Twin Sons and Rebels, she starts enacting the plan and puts those, you know, puzzle pieces into motion. But
Maul is just always willing to do the dirty work, man.
I think he's more so willing to find people who he can use as tools and use as weapons. And that's how he viewed Kira. That's how he views Devin in this show. That's how he viewed Ezra in Star Wars Rebels. Like, he was very nice to Ezra compared to how he's been, like, to his own brother. He treated his brother like shit, and basically because his brother was twice his size and way more stronger than him, but he had to like whip his brother down because his brother had to be subservient to him the way it worked. Like, you're the apprentice, I'm the master. You need to get in line, and like, if you're not, I'll make sure I beat you till you're in line. And that's how he treated his brother. So you're watching as like this, even with this show, the way he's approaching Devin is totally different than the way he approached Savage. The way he approached Ezra, this is almost very similar to the way he approached Ezra in Rebels, of like, I'm not a bad guy. We're after the same thing. Our interests are aligned, and
yeah, he's saying
we're seeing
lenient, like he's leaning in very slowly with this one compared to, you know, his others.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see if he can manipulate and mold Devin into what he wants her to be, and how that evolves as this show takes place. We do know from the trailers that they're going to end up facing off against the Inquisitors. I don't know what that means for her master. I don't know if her master ends up getting killed in the process here. We do see that he was trailing Lawson and kind of wanting to approach Lawson, but didn't necessarily know how. And Lawson pulls the whole, you know, gun on him in the alley thing. So yeah, I'm interested. What do you think? Like, do you have any predictions or things that you want to see for like how this is going to play out for this first season, based off what we know already?
I mean, I want to know more about the situation, the relationship between the son and Lawson, and also like I'm also wondering, like, why was Dermenius, is that how you say his name, Dermenius,
Demas.
the crime Demas, yeah, why was Demas because you know they say like they made a deal, and like, why would you think I would cross you with Varios, and why would, and it did blow my mind, and it still is kind of like, why was he so quick to like switching him? He must have did more other stuff before that, or little things before that, for him to even get that explanation. Although,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
they were both part of Maul's original Shadow Collective that he put together originally. Like I said, half the Shadow Collective betrayed Maul and basically split. So when that all took place, Demas took control of Janix, and Vario basically makes a truce with him, as we saw in the comic book, that they basically split Janix. That like, hey, we'll honor each other. It's basically, you know, the crime families. He's one member of one family, and he's another member of the other family. You stay on your turf, I'll stay on mine. We don't fuck with each other's money, and we're good. And that's kind of the agreement they had. So immediately Demas thinks that it's Vario, because everybody thinks Maul's dead. They all think like, we don't ever have to worry about him. And then when they see Maul, like when Vario sees Maul, he's shitting his pants because he's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, 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 fuck, I didn't mean to, like, I thought you were dead, like,
Mm-hmm.
so we're gonna see that as it unfolds with all of the crime syndicates. I'm interested to see if we're gonna get a showdown with the Hutts, or if Maul's just if the Hutts
Oof.
get really empowered through the Empire, like Jabba especially.
Right.
So I'm interested to see if like Maul just kind of lets the Hutts go out of this whole thing, or if they're part of his plot for revenge. But we definitely know that Krim is next on the list, and then I'm assuming Crimson Dawn and Black Sun is another one I would love to see. We saw Zizor, I believe his name is, from Shadows of the Empire. He was in the last time we know, he was the head of Black Sun. So I'm interested to see like what other characters we're going to get brought back from the original crime syndicate.
Yeah.
But
Yes,
yeah.
this is good. The show has been really great. I'm loving the like the cinematography, the artwork of it, and just one and two were basically like one episode, I feel
Mhm.
like, in a way. But I mean, they had to make it two to get to the May the 4th thing. But other than that, like the show is just, I think it's that I now I feel like the show is just starting for real, for real. So I'm really eager to see where we go in 3 and 4.
Yeah, I'm really, like I said, I'm interested to see how this is all going to play out for season 1, and how fast or how slow we're going to progress, cuz this could either, like, next episode he could take out Krim, next episode he could take out somebody else, or that could be the
Yeah.
like we could already get the Inquisitors
Because
here,
it can
cuz
get
we
like
know
that.
the Inquisitors are coming at some point.
Yeah, because it can, like, just like storytelling wise, it can, this show can go like straight into like that, like typical like Clone Wars mode, where it's just like it's just building information, 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 and then you really don't go anywhere. But with the number of episodes on this, I don't think that will be the case.
Yeah.
But I mean, you never know. It's just Filoni at the end of the day.
Yeah,
He
it's
does
it's
whatever he
it's
wants.
it's only it's only 10 episodes. I
Hmm.
don't think with this show he's going to waste time. I think I want to say, I want to believe this actually. I don't know if it's the truth, but I want to believe that he learned his lesson from Ahsoka season 1. It was his
Yeah.
first live action thing that he did. He kept telling everybody that like you didn't need to know anything, this, that, and the third. And basically, every time I rewatch, as much as I love Ahsoka and that show and all of the characters as part of that show. I skip the first 4 episodes every time and just watch the last 4 episodes, because the
Hmm.
first half of that show is a bunch of garbage
Hmm.
and a bunch of nonsense that kind of just prolongs the show rather than
Hmm.
like building on the story, filling you in on what's going on. If we just
Right.
started the show from like the Anakin Ahsoka meeting and then progressed from there, it would have been a much better show rather than like
Right.
doing this whole soaking Ahsoka that didn't even make sense with what took place for Mandalorian and her appearance. So I'm hoping that he learned his lesson from there about like you can't have these like filler episodes or these episodes
Hmm.
that don't really go anywhere or defy things you've already established. You need to keep the pace moving and you need to keep things going. So I really
Especially
do
with
hope
10
that like
episodes.
this is what we're getting with the Maul show, because these, again, with these first 2 episodes, I'm amazed. I love it. I'm so happy for Sam Witwer. He's been somebody that I've exchanged interactions with. I've met him at a con before. I think he does phenomenal work, and I'm really happy to see that like he landed his own show now, finally, just like solely focused around him, and with this amazing cast. Everybody again who works on this show, who is part of the voice cast, like hats off to all of you, because it's
Yes.
fantastic, and this ensemble is just amazing. And I love the fact that we're getting Vanessa Marshall and Steve Bloom and some of these regulars in Star Wars back. I'm sure we're going to get Clancy at some point in this show. He usually does a voice for somebody. Oh, actually, we are going to get Clancy because he does voice the Crow. So we will see him back reunited with Sam again. He also voiced Savage. He also played a character in Ahsoka and Star Wars Rebels. So, like, I love the fact that we have these same people that keep coming back and being part of Star Wars, and it really just makes the vibe different. You tell that these
Hmm.
people care and these people love what they're doing, and it shows. Like
Yes.
you can see the difference
It does.
between some of the other shows where like they're just putting stuff together. They don't really know what they're doing. They're bringing actors that haven't really done this in a long time back to fill a role, and it's just kind of is what it is. But when you get, you know, projects of passion, I should say, that like these people actually care what they're doing. They're really invested in these characters. They want to see this show progress and grow. Maul is the result of that labor of love. So yeah,
I always like Star Wars animation over live action, anyways. But yeah, this is it for the 2 episodes. Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like I said at the beginning of the show, if they want to do stuff with Luke, Han, and Leia, this is the way to do it. Fuck the digital recreation of them. Unless you're going to recast them, if you want to still use Mark Hamill and you still want to have somebody do a Harrison Ford impression to do the voiceover, because I don't think Harrison Ford would do the voiceover for Han. I think you could do that and have Billie Lourd play her mom and do the voice for Leia and call it a fucking day, and do whatever adventures, whatever stories. You can incorporate Mando, you can incorporate Grogu, you can do all these things in this animation style. I'm here for it. Like, if you don't want to do live action TV shows because it costs too much money and you're not sure how they're going to be received, do stuff in this animation format, and I'll be here to watch it.
Me too. Facts.
So, but yeah, that'll do it for our coverage of the first 2 episodes of Maul Shadow Lord. I'm still not sure how we're going to do this next week, whether we're going to record on a different day so we can cover the episodes as part of the regular podcast episode. But we didn't want to leave you guys hanging, and we knew we had so much to discuss with these first 2 episodes that discussing 4 episodes next week would have been a huge problem. But let us know in the comments below if you guys want us to do separate coverage on the show going forward, or if you would like us to just keep it rolled in with the podcast and then we can figure it out from there. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, review us on whatever podcast platform you listen to us, or if you're watching the YouTube, please make sure to subscribe below. And thank you guys so much.
May the force be with you. Peace.
Peace.